So, embarrassingly enough, I got kind of confused between, American Horror Story Double Feature and American Horror Stories. So it took me like 3 episodes of being like, where's Evan Peters, to realize that it wasn't the actual season and that it was a spin-off. So yeah, still patiently awaiting, the release of season 10. Hey guys, I'm Ava and you're watching WWM Productions. If you're new here, welcome. I hope you enjoy your stay. If you do, make sure to click that like button and subscribe. And if you're returning, thank you so much. We love having you. So about 3 weeks ago, American Horror Story creators Ryan Murphy and Brad Falchuk created some more American Horror Story content for its fans. So this was in the form of a spin-off called American Horror Stories, which is meant to showcase a new horror story in each episode, unless you are including the first 2 episodes, which are Part 1, Part 2, The Rubber Woman, Part 1, Part 2. Now, with American Horror Story being as successful as it is, and showcasing a new horror story every season, this new endeavor seemed like a great opportunity to showcase some stories that were maybe interesting ideas but weren't enough for an entire season, or highlight the talents of other actors who haven't actually had the chance to be on the real show. Upsettingly enough though, after the first 4 episodes were released, fans, including myself, have been kind of disappointed. Just look in the comment section of the different American Horror Story posts on Instagram and you will see how many people are upset with the show and how it's just not scratching that itch that has developed over the lengthy hiatus between American Horror Story seasons. Now, the reason that I and so many others love American Horror Story is that it has this ability to tell a gripping and well-developed story over the course of a season with a charismatic and talented cast. I'm not saying that every season is of equal quality, but I mean every show has its ups and downs, so people keep coming back to this AHS universe. The talented cast I mentioned earlier is one of the reasons why many people keep coming back to the show. Actors and actresses like Evan Peters, Sarah Paulson, Kathy Bates, Emma Roberts, Billy Lord, and I'm not going to keep listing because there are so many fan favorites and the group keeps getting larger. This is my first problem with the spin-off, is that the cast keeps changing every episode. Also, despite some crossover between previous American Horror Story actors and the spin-off cast, it's just, the cast just pales in comparison to the traditional AHS cast that we know and love. A lot of people also had problems with the performances of some of the main characters. Some of them were just dry and uncomfortable. Not all of them, of course. For instance, I found myself enjoying some of the performances of people like Matt Bomer, John Carroll Lynch, Aaron Tveit, Kevin McHale, but a lot of the characters fell noticeably and disappointingly flat. This also might be because of the limited opportunity that the cast members have to make a lasting impression on the audience. I'm sure if you took Evan Peters' legendary performance as Tate Langdon in the first season Murder House and made him cut it down to like a fraction of a 40-something minute episode, it wouldn't have been as engaging or nearly as impressive. Though I do think it might have been better than some of what we got in the show already, because, I don't know, it's Evan Peters. Writing may also be responsible for some of the characters' lack of presence. For instance, Kaya Gerber's role as Ruby was remarkably similar to that of Tate, but she just wasn't Tate. Ruby is yet another attractive and deeply messed up teenage ghost that haunts the house and takes advantage of the main living girl's vulnerabilities, falling in love with them and trying to keep them for themselves. This ghost protects said girl and fights off the other ghosts and bullies, but sometimes lets their murderous tendencies get a little bit in the way of their budding romance. While watching episode 2, I just couldn't get past the fact that Ruby was just the Walmart version of Tate, and it bothered me more. Maybe if Kaya Gerber sold the role the same way Evan Peters did, it would have been better, but even if she does have the abilities to deliver a performance of the same caliber, I don't think she had the time or the writing to do so. Time is just a big problem for this show. Like I said, nobody in this show has the opportunity to capture the audience because their spotlight is cut off after just one episode. But this doesn't just apply to the cast. This also applies to the story itself. I think this is especially true for episode 3, Drive-In. This episode has a great concept, I will give it that. It has a cursed film that is filled with subliminal messaging that is supposed to drive the viewer insane and give them murderous rage. I think this would be a great idea for a movie maybe, but I don't think it really sold in a 45-minute episode. The timeline on this episode was so tight that for the most part it just kind of felt like a basic zombie situation. The people don't become like coherent murderers, they become legitimate zombies just without the virus. You know, the part that makes zombies cool. A place where I always felt like American Horror Story excelled is the fact that because it was a whole season of a show, it had time to really develop their story. You grew attached to the characters and got invested in the subplots, and because it's so short, that just doesn't happen in a single episode. Even shows like Black Mirror that do a similar sort of concept have episodes that are longer than a typical show, so it avoids this problem. This allows them to successfully pull off what American Horror Stories is trying to. This show is also notably trying to appeal to a younger audience. American Horror Story has been around for about a decade or so now, so that means there's a whole new crop of young adults who weren't watching before because they were, well, children. The show includes a lot of references to social media, like how Scarlett is humiliated via Instagram livestream, and how the Bro House is a spoof of the Hype House and provides commentary on influencer culture. There's also a lot of LGBTQ representation with multiple queer characters in the first couple of episodes. Personally, I think these are all good things. I've seen a lot of people complaining about the so-called modernization of the story, and I mean, sure, there are moments that are kind of cringy, but I think that the effort is still a good thing. Of course, there are times when you're watching and you'll see like a Gen Z character say or do something that none of us would ever say or do, and you can just tell it's because whoever was writing it thinks that it's something that somebody from Gen Z would say or do. But I think that the inclusion of LGBTQ characters and the utilization of social media and influencer culture is great. I will say, too, episode 4 I thought was the best of the 4. Amazing? No. Watchable? Way more than the other 3. It had a fairly restricted cast, so it gave us more of an opportunity to get to know and get attached to the characters, and it made at least one of them kind of sympathetic. My favorite part about this episode, though, is actually the last shot of the Christmas tree that's decorated with all of the body parts of the influencers that were murdered. It reminded me of why I got into American Horror Story in the first place, because it's just disturbing as all heck. Every once in a while, the show just delivers these bone-chilling shots, like Violet's dead body in Murder House, or the reveal of Bloody Face in Asylum. This moment just reminded me of the show from which this spin-off came. Episode 4, also utilizing that social media influencer culture, references things that are going on now and is relevant to now. And this all just helped elevate the story in episode 4. I think that if the next coming episodes are as good, or hopefully better, than this episode, the show will have some promise. Also, more original cast members are set to appear in the future episodes. We'll be seeing people like Dylan McDermott, Billy Lord, Cody Fern, and Sarah Paulson is even set to direct a couple of the episodes. Frankly, I don't know if this is gonna save the show, or if it'll continue to disappoint. I think that the concept has a lot of potential, and there are a lot of great places to take this kind of show. There are definitely so many really cool and scary ideas that aren't quite complex enough to house an entire series, and this is a great way to showcase them. I just really hope that the rest of the episodes can do a better job of developing their stories and their characters. I want to care about the characters, good and bad, that I'm seeing on screen, and I want to be thoroughly shocked by the horrifying scenes and scares, and I don't think that those things are mutually exclusive. My hopes for the future of this show are as high as my expectations were when I started watching, and it's up to the creators to see if they live up to that. Thank you so much for watching, you guys. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Do you like American Horror Stories? Do you dislike it? Please let me know, and I would love to have a conversation with you guys about your thoughts. And also, while you're down in the comment section, leave a like and subscribe. Not only does it mean so much to us when you do, and it helps the channel a lot, but it also means that you won't miss out on our future content. We post videos like this every week, and we also have a podcast that comes out every Wednesday called We Watch Movies. We basically watch movies and talk about it, and it's a lot of fun. You can also follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Those usernames are in the description box below. That's all for me this week, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!